Welcome to the Hacking Your Health podcast with Ben Canning and Dave Kennedy. Two guys heading out to hack body, mind, business, and beyond. We are here to provide a single source, bullshit-free guide to understanding your body and how you can live better for longer.
Yo, what's up, everybody? Just before we get into this week's podcast, I'd like to take a second to say two things. Number one, thanks for tuning in once again. We wouldn't be here if it weren't for every listen, every download, every watch. Secondly, if you can take time to subscribe to wherever you listen to or watch us, it would be greatly appreciated and it would do a lot for us and the show. Thanks. Enjoy this week's episode. Yo, what's up, everybody? Welcome back. I'm Ben Canning.
I'm Dave Kennedy.
And this is Hacking Your Health podcast. I feel like we've spoken and we've seen each other, but we haven't recorded a podcast in a while. So
it has been
what's up,
absolutely
dude?
Forever, man. Well, the audience doesn't know that, but we pre-recorded, a few weeks in advance, and you've been traveling, I've been traveling, and so we did what? It's been 2 weeks, hasn't it?
Yes,
almost 2 weeks.
Slightly longer than 2 weeks, I think.
Yeah, you're right.
Well, I was away for 2 weeks, 3 weeks. It's been 3 weeks.
You're right. So it has been 3 weeks. Yeah. So It's it feels good to be back in it. And I got this new setup with my camera, and the mic is right here. So if I sound better, hopefully I sound better. Hopefully it comes off better on the podcast. The worst part is though,
I just look better.
I just
a much clearer screen.
Yeah, and I just ate a whole thing of Tic Tacs, orange Tic Tacs. So if my teeth look orange or yellow, it's because I literally ate a whole package of Tic Tacs. I was. They've been sitting in my car for like a month, and when I get them, I normally just like, if anybody else has ever eaten orange Tic Tacs, you can relate to this. If you eat like 3, you're eating the whole thing. Like there's no 3 Tic Tacs, it's the whole thing. So like I'm like, oh, I just opened up this package and I got the Tic Tacs, and I hadn't eaten anything. Like I've been running around like in my car and stuff, and literally I had 3 Tic Tacs and then I ate the whole thing. So I apologize if my teeth don't look as white as they normally would, because I have been eating more Tic Tacs
in like 4K,
right?
Aside from the orange Tic Tac saga, what's going on?
Hey, well, first of all, it was awesome to get to hang out with you last week in Arizona. For those that don't follow us on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, everything else. I don't do TikTok, but you do now.
I do,
which was against my advice, but it's fine. But just kidding.
It was literally your advice.
I literally talked to you to go to TikTok. I will not though. But anyways, it was good to hang out with you in Arizona. Truth of the matter is, Ben was going there for a Wi-Fi conference and to do some training for folks there. And I happened to be there doing our Binary Defense 2023, sales hoorah kickoff for the thing. And it literally landed the exact same time. And just to put in perspective, I have no control. And Ben has no control over the timing of the conference that he was at, and the kickoff sales call, which is run by a person in our organization, Tracy. I had no control over any of the dates there. So we literally landed in the same location at the same time and were able to hang out and get some great lifts in. So that was a lot of fun. I had a good time lifting with you, and we must have complained probably over 100 times on how sore we were, especially our legs, after that leg day that we had there.
I'm undecided. Sometimes I think, it'd be really good if me and Dave could train together all the time. Like we'd make so much progress. And then sometimes I think we would be completely unable to function all of the time. Like I was so fucked after that. Like I jumped.
It was horrible.
I jumped in an Uber and it was like my legs didn't catch me. I was like, okay.
It was horrible.
That gym was great for anybody.
That gym was awesome.
Maximum Fitness.
Fitness. Yeah.
Everything that you could ever need.
Scottsdale.
From a gym and more.
It was an incredible gym. It was like 20-some thousand square feet. They had a dedicated cardio room and then dedicated lifting room with different sections.
We really enjoyed the cardio room, strangely.
We didn't. No, it's so weird. That's so weird. I did do funny story. When I was out there, my routine is Monday, Wednesday, Orange Theory, Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, lift. And then I don't tell Ben Wednesday and Sunday when I lift. Okay. So just teasing, kind of ish kind of teasing. So I went to Orange Theory Monday, and it was the 500-meter row, which is timed, and you can tell, they start publishing the stats of like that studio that you're in, would you come in like first, second, third, 10th, 11th, whatever, place. And I've never been in the studio before, and obviously every studio is different, and there might be another Dave there or something like that. And so I got number one in their studio, and I also looked back at our studio, and I would have gotten number one there, of course, as well. But the cool part about it was they have the new treads that I haven't got to try before, and they go up to 15 miles an hour versus 12 miles an hour. And I was like, I've never run 15 miles an hour on a tread before. Let's give this a shot. And I guess it's not used very often because like half the class stopped and watched me run, like interrupted their workout and watched me run as I'm doing 15 miles an hour. And I did 15 miles an hour the entire sprint. They had it was like push and then all outs. And there was like, I don't know, it must have been like 10 all outs, and they're all 15 miles an hour. And I was on a different level. So I didn't die. I actually enjoyed it. It wasn't that much more difficult than 12 miles per hour. And I can say I've been able to sprint at 12 or 15 miles per hour on a new tread. So I was excited. It was fun.
I mean, fun is maybe you and I have a different definition of that, but I'm glad that you enjoyed yourself.
Thanks. Yeah. I definitely represented in Arizona. So, but how about you? How you been? So you've been traveling for 2 friggin' solid weeks. You've flown in airplanes over places. You've visited different locations and areas. You saw more of America. Just real quick question before you get into your experiences. If you were to move to one place in the United States, where would it be? Out of all the places you've experienced so far.
Do you know what's funny? I feel like I get a different experience of Ohio because anybody I talk to about Ohio, there's something to do there. Or like even whenever I go through border control, they're like, why are you going back there? And I'm like, I always have a good time. So I think I have an unfair advantage on Ohio. But I would have to say Ohio because, I mean...
See? Ohio representing here, everybody. You heard it here first out of Texas, California, Florida, New York, Arizona. All of y'all, claim the fame of getting people over there. He's coming to Ohio. All right, he's coming to Ohio.
It's just like the chilled, not much going on vibe. No, I had a lot of fun. What an adventure it was. I was in Texas, so I got to Texas about 2 weeks ago, and it was this nearly made me laugh. The big freeze, quote unquote. Now, I'm from Ireland, okay? And I'm going to talk in Celsius because I looked at my phone and it was -1 degree Celsius, so 1 degree below freezing. I don't know what that is in Fahrenheit. And it was like there was an apocalypse. Everybody was had all of their clothes on. Everything was shut. I was in shorts. The amount of people that commented to me, I was in the supermarket, that I was wearing shorts. It was an experience in itself.
It's 30 degrees Fahrenheit for you U.S. folks. So 30 degrees Fahrenheit, which is shorts wearing weather here as well. So
yeah. So I mean, it was fine. And then we flew to Phoenix, and it was absolutely beautiful in Phoenix. It was sunny. It was nice to feel the sun on my face. I think I did five mornings coaching. So essentially I had flown out to coach before the conference. So I did 5:30 and 6:30, which was cool because I got to speak to people who I would never speak to before. I got to coach again, which I don't really do very often. It was funny because obviously when we have in-person events, it's fine because I know the person and I know how they move and I know what way I've programmed. But I was literally standing in a gym with a list of people, not knowing who they were, not knowing what they looked like. And it was people walking into the gym and they did this where they walk in, look around, look at their phone. I was like, they're looking for me. So I had to go and round everybody up. But it was a good experience. Shout out to anybody listening because I was talking over the podcast quite a lot. So I did that for 5 days, got to hang out. You and I got to hang out. It was cool to see other gyms. And it was cool to sort of see the inner workings of binary defense and what was on that. And I will say, fuck you. That I was sitting that night. So we had 2 drinks and then you got, a drink of bourbon. I was drinking it. I was like, I am going to feel this in the morning. I know that this is not a good idea. When I was thinking about my future self, and my future self thought my past self was a dick. And I woke up the next morning, coach, and I was like, 1 eye was closed. I was like, motherfucker. It was good to see that.
100 and it was 130 proof or something like that. It was George C. Stagg. So it was a spicy
it was
whiskey.
Delicious.
So. Yeah.
But I mean, not whenever you got to go before closing. But anyway, it was good. And then we had a swift exit. Almost ended up in Mexico, which is a different story for a different time. Flew back to Waco, then flew to Dallas. Flew a plane. Actually got to fly a plane, which was a new experience in itself. Had some good food, hung out with Chris and his friends and his family, and then left on Saturday. It felt like, I don't know if you, whenever you're traveling, like at the start, it feels like you're away for ages, and then whenever it comes to the end, you're like, oh, I feel like I haven't really been away that long. But it was a lot of fun. It was training. It was a lot of eating. Got to see other parts of America, and I mean, it won't be too long before I'm back again.
Yeah, it's to see Chris's progress too is awesome. I wish I would have gotten some time to speak with him. And it's if you're those familiar don't know him, Chris Evans, Rockstar Wi-Fi on social media, great guy. Also happens to be a pilot as well, and has his own plane and stuff like that. So it's super cool. He asked me one time if I wanted to fly, and I'm like, nah, man, I'm good. I used to have like a really bad fear of flights, flying. And I'm sure it has nothing to do with all the Air Force pilots and the Marines. When I was in the Marines, when they cart us back from Iraq and everything, their goal was to see how many Marines they can get to throw up. So they'd be like diving and moving up and stuff, and then Marines would be vomiting everywhere. It was just a horrible situation. But so I've had a fear of flying for quite a long time. And when I always see like these private planes that are like the propeller, private planes and stuff like that, I always see them like crashing in like the in the lake, and everybody's dead, and like kids on there, and I'm just like, oh my god, like I'm like never flying one of those in my life is a promise I've made to myself. So I'm glad you survived. I know they're very safe, and I obviously know Chris is really good at what he does there, but not something that I would be interested in doing in any way, shape, or form. So kudos to you and Chris out there. But it was you guys can have that. You guys can have that. Yeah, you guys can definitely have that.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. It was cool. It was a cool experience. Definitely a much more efficient way to fly than having to go through an airport and do this with other people. To be honest, you just turn up and go whenever you want. I was like,
it's cool.
This is badass.
I actually have a story about that. I was speaking at a conference. I was keynoting a conference, and I didn't realize I had booked something the same day in the afternoon, like 7 states away. And I'm like, oh God, what am I going to do? And it was like real important. I couldn't miss either one of these. And so I actually had to rent a private jet to fly from one place to the other. And literally I got to this thing 3 minutes before I was supposed to go on at the second one. I got the first one, no problem. And then like the plane was late or whatever, but it's nice because you can just like roll up and obviously no security, and you got, all that sort of stuff. And I flew back, made it back in time. That's the only time I had ever ridden a private jet, and it is the only time I will ever ride a private jet. So yeah. Yeah,
but yeah, it was a lot of fun. But I am glad to be back in my own space as always. It's good. Even just like for doing check-ins and stuff today, it was fine. But I just got straight back into work. I actually feel okay. It wasn't that bad in terms of travel. Slept normally last night, and just get back to normality today.
Yeah, it's I got back. When did I get back? I don't even know. What is today? Is today Monday? Okay. I got back last week. I think I got back Friday or Thursday. I got back Wednesday. Okay, so I'm just trying to remember.
One day, Dave got back one day last week.
Got back Wednesday, and it was good to be back in my gym. I do feel like training wise, I've been shooting up in both weight, endurance, and everything else. I feel like I've kind of gone, because we had been doing a cut for a while, and then adding the additional calories. I really feel like I've been really hitting it hard in the gym and having a good time. And I'm also destroying myself because I'm sore all the time.
You do have additional calories. And speaking of calories, I want to do a bit of a online competition for everybody. Not competition, but I guess just a bit of a guessing game. So before I left for America, I was 208.3 pounds. I want everybody listening to tweet me what weight they think I was this morning. I'm not going to say, because we'll do it. We'll catch up next week on that. I'll give you a clue. It was more. But anyway, yes, so you're increasing your calories. I'm going to do a mini cut as of today, which has actually been fine so far today, because I can probably still full of food. I
feel like it's become a lot easier now that I've gone through a couple of the cycles of that, to be able to do it. Like even like starting up food, I haven't been craving like more food. Like I haven't been like, oh, I need to eat 3,000 calories, whatever. And I feel like if I could dip down to 2,000 again, I'd be like, nah, whatever, it's fine. It's just kind of like what you do, and you get used to the hunger, you get used to the way you feel. You just kind of keep track of it. So I feel like once you do this a few times, you kind of have control over it. It takes a lot of time to get in that mindset, but it's been pretty easy for me to kind of adapt. And it's what's also great too, is kind of like the clean bulking, I guess, is the best way of explaining it, which is, everybody assumes when you're bulking and you're cutting bulking wise, you're eating a whole bunch of crap and pizzas and things like that.
First thing that comes to my head when people say bulking is pizzas and cheeseburgers, and I do not know why, but that is that's why I don't like the term, because it's my automatic thought.
Yeah,
to just get as many calories in as possible.
No, and what what you're trying to accomplish with cutting and bulking is that if you're cutting, it's very difficult to build muscle at the same time. It doesn't mean that you can't do it. It just means that you have to be really conscious of the macros and when you space, certain things like energy or carbohydrates for your exercise and workouts. You'd be very selective off of that, ensure that you have enough padding for your muscles to continue to grow. Whereas with bulking, you're giving yourself essentially over nutrients. You're going above your total daily energy expenditure and your basal metabolic rate and saying, hey, I need more energy to kind of catapult me to, that next level, because I have a lot of intensity going on. And so what'll happen is when your body has extra calories, extra nutrients, extra food, you're going to, one, feel better. Two, you're going to have a lot more energy, which then allows you to push harder, longer, and faster to build strength, endurance, or whatever you're trying to accomplish with your muscles. And i.e., so if you're lifting more, you're increasing more muscle mass, giving everything that you need to be able to replenish, muscle within your body, so you could build muscle much faster. But if you go to a big surplus, and this is where I usually see a lot of problems with people that are doing bulking, and why you think of like dirty bulking and things like that, is that I saw a picture of Jay Cutler when he was going through bulking, and I've never seen a picture of this, but I mean, he looks horrible. He looks like he's never lifted a weight in his life. I mean, the guy just looks like morbidly obese. Yeah. And, but that was his bulking phase where he just put on so much fat, but he was just stacking on muscle as he was going through and doing that. And then you just do a cut where, you're obviously in a deficit and you shave that off. So, when we're talking bulking, for me, it's not eat as much as you want to and pack on as much fat. You put yourself in just a little bit of a deficit, and you may need to raise over time, but it allows you to balance
surplus.
Sorry, surplus, not deficit. Surplus allows you to increase your energy while not putting on that much amount of body fat. So it might get a little bit bigger, but under control with the ability to maximize muscle gain. So it's just, playing with food and macros and calories and things like that. But one thing I'll tell you is that, based on how much muscle mass I put on over the past, 2.5 years, it's been very easy for me to lose the weight at a much higher calorie content than before, because of all the muscle mass that I have on, as well as stay in a lower surplus because I feel like I have enough energy because my body's prepped for that type of stuff. So it's kind of an interesting, dilemma that I've gone through in my body that, a lot of progress has been made on that. So it's been good.
Yeah, I think it just comes down to you sort of detach from the food almost, and it just becomes the numbers. Do you know what I mean? Even like today, like just going down to 1,800 calories, I know exactly what I need to eat to hit 1,800 calories and stay, relatively decent within my macros. I'm like, okay, it's just a case of execute. I am at a bit of a loss here because obviously the goal while I was increasing calories and increasing muscle mass was to grow my beard. And now that I'm in reduced calories, I'm like, do I have to reduce the size of my beard? Unknown. Anyway, the one thing that I want to say while we're talking about food is this is a message to everybody that is in America. The supermarkets and what you guys have available in the supermarkets is on another level. Now,
first of all, you have to understand, every time that Ben comes to the country, I know exactly when he's going to the supermarket because he is blown away every single time about it. I'll get a text message saying, I cannot believe the supermarkets you have here.
I cannot. Cyrus in the Hacks program, he's like, no, but like HEB's cheat codes. And I was like, I'm in fucking Arizona now. And he's like, oh, you must be in Sprouts' cheat codes. I was like, no, it's just the supermarkets over here. So literally anything you can ever want, any type of bread that's low calorie, any type of bread that's high protein, any shape, flavor, bagel, any sort of vessel that you need to hold a protein source, any sort of protein source that you want, pre-cooked, not cooked, sliced, cubed, flavored, unflavored, salt, pepper, like buffalo flavor, jalapeno, anything that you want, cooked, not cooked, all already there. Any flavor, any size of package, any shape, any color, that, not that. Honestly, I was in here.
Gluten-free, no meats. Yeah.
Literally anything. So I think the only excuse that I could think people would have would be overwhelmed, because I felt that the first time whenever we went to the one in Nashville, I was like, I could spend all day here. So I went to HEB.
You did spend all day there.
Oh, that was whenever I was in Texas. I must have been in that supermarket for about 2.5 hours. People probably thought I was crazy. And then I got back to my hotel room and recorded like a 7 or 8 minute video on like a food haul of like what I got. I was like, look at all the stuff that I got. Super excited. Then I went again. I must have been in that HEB 4 times. And then I went to Sprouts whenever I was in Phoenix. And again, spent about an hour and a half there. I must have been in about 3 or 4 times. So anyway, long story short, American supermarkets are the one. I didn't necessarily get to do my visit the Chick-fil-A and Chipotle trip, but I'll do that next time. I was so blown away by the supermarkets and the way that I manage things. And this is, I guess, a tip for anybody who travels. I got the stuff that I needed for breakfast and lunch in the supermarket and kept it in the fridge in the hotel. Now, it wasn't glamorous by any stretch of imagination. I was literally just getting the carb balanced tortillas, which have ridiculous macros, and filling it full of pre-roasted, pre-shredded chicken with some sort of sauce on it, and that was it. And then have other things like protein yogurts and kefir and water in the fridge and some sort of fruit and flaming hot Cheetos, obviously. But that's what I was doing during the day, and I was always leaving between like 1,200 and 1,500 calories for dinner because I knew if I was going out somewhere, I would probably going to eat that amount of food, and if I didn't, it was fine because the next day I was probably going to eat that amount of food, and that's how I manage things. So yeah, definitely just spend some time in the supermarkets.
It's amazing, you know, and people forget about how different it is here versus somewhere else. And, you know, and you find that the nuances with every country, right? Regardless of where you go, supermarket obviously being one thing, but, you know, you've also commented on the size of how we do things here, right? You know, like just everything is bigger here in the States versus, you know, and you have to think historically, we're a young country, we have a lot of land, so building up and those types of things are accomplished, but Americans typically like to overdo everything that we do.
One thing I noticed about Texas as well is you cannot walk anywhere in Texas. Like if we saw it when we were in Berlin, you can just walk around everywhere. You can get to the next bar, the next restaurant, the next street or whatever. In Texas, it's like everything has its own building and the next one's like half a mile away. And then there's just another one and another one. So you cannot fucking walk anywhere. So yeah, it's interesting to see the difference in places. But anyway, so that's enough about the supermarkets.
Yes, it is. But so today's topic, you know, that I wanted to chat about today, and I talked to Ben about a little bit, which I thought was really interesting, which is, you know, and I think we should name the title of this podcast, like make it like racy, like cardio or muscle building, the worst for you or something like that, you know, because, you know, well, you know, make it racy, obviously, because you know, it's interesting listening to Dr. Andy Galpin, who was on the Huberman Labs podcast.
Who you're now friends with. Can we just actually take a second to be like,
no, I never said anything. No, I never said anything negative. I never said anything negative. No,
thank you so much, Dr. Galpin, for all the work and effort. You're like, this motherfucker.
Listen. I got a shout out from him. He talked to me a little bit on social media, you know, and then Huberman followed me, and then it's been this whole thing. Like we're like best friends now. I feel like I'm a neurobiologist out of Stanford, you know. I mean, anyways, no. In all truthness, you know, there's a bunch of series that are coming out from Andrew Huberman from Huberman Lab, which is a neurobiologist out of Stanford. If you haven't listened to any of our podcasts, he's mentioned literally every single podcast, but they're currently on 4 of 6. Now, I listened to the 4th one. I kind of just phased out of it. It wasn't really that great.
Was the 4th one about that building your training block?
Optimize your training program and fitness for longevity. Yes,
I haven't listened to that one.
It was okay. It was just stuff he'd already kind of recapped. It was basically a recap of like, honestly, like 2 and 3. But the thing that I disliked about his discussion, which we discussed previously in the podcast, you know, was on one, he basically said, you know, he basically gave his opinion, not the science, but his opinion on what the best type of thing is for you, right? And the truth of the matter is that everybody's goals are different, whether yours are predominantly cardiovascular, muscular, you know, building phases or things like that, or in between and vice versa. So there's not like a one size fits all. So I kind of just got turned off by that specific thing. But his second podcast and third podcast were absolutely really good. And, you know, they went into some very specifics that I think are really important for people to understand, because it really chips away at what we have thought about fitness before in the past. And, you know, you can say, well, you know, fitness is predominantly, if you go to you know, any type of stream or Google News or influencer, it's like, hey, try this pill or do this diet or do this or do that. But you also see people that are like, you know, running athletes. Oh, all you need to do is run all day. Or you get, you know, bodybuilders that are like, oh, all I have to do is lift all day. And you get these polar extremes of people that, you know, are in their own individual areas of what has worked for them from a success factor. But, you know, what does the science say behind what is the best thing for humans. Now, we have to take a step back and say, well, how did we evolve as humans in the first place? And there's various different stages of human evolution that have been documented. Everything from when we were tribes and had to, work together collectively to hunt food, to forage food. So we had to be fast. We had to have endurance. We had to go after animals. We had to fight animals. We had to fight together as a pack. We had to build things. We had to be strong, so we all had different genetics that have evolved over time, which is also fascinating too, if you think about it. If we have, our body evolved from a sense of because we had to fight to get our food to survive. What happens when we live in a society where we don't have to fight for food and food is at our fingertips and we don't have to worry about that type of thing? Will we evolve differently in the future from an evolutionary perspective? Who knows? But, what was interesting about what Dr. Andy Galvin was saying was that, if you listen to a bodybuilder, powerlifter, they're going to say, hey, you don't need to do any cardio whatsoever, just lift. That's all you need to do. If you talk to, an athlete that's in sports, oh my gosh, you got to run, you got to lift. Or if you talk to just, a person that's just a long distance runner, all you need to do all day is run. I can't do resistance training because it's going to knock away my ability to be fast and endurance wise. And there's kind of gray areas and truths to all of that. But the truth of the matter is that, and this comes from Dr. Peta Attia, who has talked about this specifically, but the science basically says, listen, if you're a smoker and you have diabetes, you're 2 times more likely to die early than somebody that does not. Okay. So 2 times or 3 times more is basically the general rough estimate there. 2 to 3 times more likely to die early, either of cancer, cardiovascular issues, whatever that ends up being. Right. And obesity, those types of things, right? Comorbidities that allow you to die sooner. If you have a high VO2 max, i.e. running, endurance, cardio, HIIT training, those types of things, if you have a high VO2 max, you actually increase your longevity by 5x, 5 times, okay, than those that would not be doing that, okay? Now, couple that with strength and resistance training, i.e. muscle mass and grip strength, your ability to stay alive longer goes up 3x. And my video just died, sorry. Not sure what happened there. But I'll get it back on in a second. So, what causes these types of things to happen, and what is the best thing for you to do? It seems to be a balance of the two are the best type of approach to longevity, living longer, and living a healthy lifestyle. So a combination of resistance training and cardiovascular work. Now, there's a lot of data that shows things like HIIT training actually impedes muscle hypertrophy, which is what I do, obviously. And so if you do too much,
I think we're okay.
I think we're okay. We're okay. If it's impeded a little bit, it's a very small percentage. But what's interesting about that is, so if you take a look at HIIT training, yes, that's true if you're doing a ton of HIIT training. And yes, that's true if you're doing a ton of running. Now, if all I did all day long was lift weights and I barely did any cardiovascular work, then yes, I'm going to suck at running. My cardiovascular VO2 max is going to be high, right? But if we can balance the two and have focuses on one area or the other, so like think of it as an expertise in lifting, but kind of a amateur in cardiovascular work, you can really pair the longevity hits or longevity increases with the cardiovascular health and your ability to maintain muscle mass, especially as we age. So this whole process around what's the best way to handle this situation? Is it putting on as much mass as a bodybuilder with copious amounts of things that, where you grow and all of a sudden you're this massive beast? And no, I mean, that's probably bad cardiovascular wise for you. That's why you see a lot of bodybuilders dying in, their 40s and 50s. But, if you were to take a person that has a lot of muscle mass and on top of it, you also did cardiovascular work as well, you'd probably see both of those increases continue to skyrocket because it's a balance of both, not one extreme or the other. What you also see with cardiovascular is a breakdown in things like knees, legs, a lot of surgeries, things like that, the fragility of your things, not meant for doing extreme long distances. If you think evolutionary, you didn't have to run 30 miles at a given time. Usually they're quick, movements to get food or to travel to a different location. So a balance of the two seems to be really the best approach to that. So focusing on building muscle, maintaining muscle, keeping muscle, getting stronger, as well as our ability to, elevate our heart rate to build cardiovascular resistance, increase our VO2 max to be more sustainable long-term cardiovascular wise.
I think the thing for me, or the thing that I see often and don't like is people speaking in absolutes or indefinites or on the extremes. And I think that that's why we didn't like your friend Andy Galpin's podcast the first time, because he was like, this is the way to do it. And I think he was very much geared and speaking towards athletes and not really taking into consideration like everyday people, or, you know, it was because I assume from the stuff that he says, he works very closely with athletes. So that is, you get was like, this is the way and that is it. And the same that I think, you know, the reason that I do not like diets, I'll not mention keto, but the reason I don't like diets is because, again, they speak in absolutes. Like, you have to do it this way and there is no other way. And even like you're saying, you know, bodybuilders, they will just do bodybuilding. Runners, they will just do running. And that's fine because they're on the extremes and they're potentially athletes. Whereas 9 times out of 10, if someone asks me a question, the first thing I'll respond with, it depends. And I'll try and break down what the context of the situation is. And it doesn't have to be one or the other, and it can be both or more. And I think I always laugh at this is the best, you know, the clickbait title, best workout that you will ever do. And it's like the one that you will stick to. I'm like, awesome. Thanks for the fucking advice. But that's the truth of it. Something that you enjoy and something that you can actually stick to and see progress in, obviously. And I think that, you know, whether that is a combination of weight resistance training and cardio, if you prefer to do more cardio and that's in line with your goal, fine. If you prefer to do more weight resistance training and that's in line with your goal, fine. Like, it's entirely up to you and what you're trying to achieve.
Yeah, I think, you know, what you hit there was the goals that you want to achieve, right? And you kind of need to understand what those goals are. You know, if you've gone through obesity your whole life, like I have, your goals may change and differ throughout your progress in this type of journey. So for me, you know, I dropped all the weight. I was super skinny and bony to where, you know, I had nothing but ribs showing, no muscle whatsoever. And I didn't like that, right? Not a good look. Then I know my wife would complain I'm too bony. People would be like, hey, you look like a skeleton. I'm like, okay, well, I just got done from being 315 pounds. Actually, and now you're saying I'm a skeleton. I'm like, for fuck's sake.
Can we take a note here as well? This is something that I wanted to comment on. Who the fuck does anybody think they are to be able to comment on how anybody else looks in any way, shape, or form? Because yes, okay, 100%. I see people and they're like, oh, you look too skinny. I'm like, if I start to turn around to people and say you look too fat, I'm going to end up with a punch in the face or shot or in jail or something like that. It is not okay or appropriate to comment negatively on how someone looks. And that guy that said about your calves, I was like, this motherfucker. I'm like, I don't want to be the guy, like, you know, coming to back you up because I know you can handle it. But I'm just like, shut the fuck up.
You know, it's funny you mentioned that because I had 2 comments recently. So I just posted a picture recently. It was Ben and I at the gym, and this one guy basically comments and he basically says, oh, you know, you need to work out your legs more. I'm like, dude, okay, first of all, like, let's see some pictures of yours. I went through his pictures. There's no way he's lifting legs. Okay, he's not lifting legs. Second, he's extremely short. And if you know anything about calves, which a lot of people don't understand calves, I do, because they are my biggest pain in the ass thing that I ever have had to deal with in my entire life. My calves don't grow. There's 2 things that play a role in calf development. One is genetics. Can't fix that. Okay, I have long ass legs. The muscle stretches long. Therefore, my calves look short. You put a person that's, you know, 5'1", you know, they're gonna have big fucking calves. And that's why you always you see these soccer dads that
prospectively they'll have big calves.
Perspective, yeah. And so you'll see these you know, these dads that have never lifted an ounce of weight in their entire life, and they have these gigantic calves. And I'm just like, I hate that guy already. Like, I don't even want to know him. I don't want to know him personally because he's everything that I am jealous of on the calves. But the second thing is height. Okay, so the taller you are, you typically don't have calves. Now, don't get me wrong. There's some gifted people that have calves. I am not one of those. So, you know, but people don't understand that, and so they're like, oh my gosh, he's got, you know, arms, but, you know, so then I posted a picture of my quads, which are looking pretty damn good right now. I have some pretty awesome looking quads. Okay. My quads are looking gigantic. I had a good pump going. I murdered myself with this. I did run the rack, which, you know, Ben showed me how to do run the rack, which, you know, if you haven't done this before and you want to absolutely put yourself through the worst amount of pain you can ever possibly imagine.
Have someone that you don't like that you train with, yes, in the gym, this is the thing that you need to do.
That and hip abductors, but it was you basically, you know, do your normal set of leg extensions, you know, or leg curls on your rack at a higher weight, you know, so, you know, anywhere between like 8 to 12 rep range. So you do that, you know, increase your weight for progressive overload, and then once you get done with that, you basically start going down every 2, you know, 1 or 2 pinpoints. So you do pinpoints, you do as many reps as possible, or AMRAP, as many reps as possible until it burns. And then you wait 30 seconds, put 2 more pins down, and you run the rack all the way to the very top. By the time you get to like 10 or 20 pounds, if you're not crying, you're doing something wrong. Like we were both just crying, complaining, putting the whole car right back. I mean, yeah,
it's good. It's good in terms of like it definitely increases the intensity of your workout in one way, shape, or form. And your legs definitely feel different after. But anyway,
yes,
fuck that guy.
So hang on. So I had this pump going, and so I had some dude today write me and say, hey, I don't mean to, critique, but looks like you're going overboard with the weightlifting. You're getting to be too big, and I think that's just not not good for you. And I'm like, well, listen, you can think whatever you want to. First of all, why'd you even say that? Like, second, one, my doctor, by the way, who is a licensed professional that understands bodies and everything else, says I have the best blood work and physical physique he's ever seen in a 40-year-old before in his entire life. And that I'm a huge specimen of, what a transformation looks like coming from severe obesity, heart issues, multiple surgeries, almost dying a few times, to being able to actually live longer and do things for myself. But you're going to comment on that because you feel like that's a little bit too big. Gotcha. So anyways, that was an immediate unfriend. But it's just, it's interesting. A lot of these folks that literally have no clue what's going on, have no understanding. And again, it's not okay to tell somebody, hey, you look bad or look this way. I would never tell somebody, hey, you're morbidly obese and you need to go on a diet. I would never say that. That's not for me to say. Like, that's not my call, my judgment. And, would I like to help that person, as a human being? Sure. But I would never do it without asking, without them asking me or having some sort of conversation, because one, I know what it's like to go through that, right? I know the mental issues that I had with that. I know, the depression. I know, the way that I felt, the sluggishness, the feeling I can't escape, I can't, do this. And, to be to a point to where, if you were to take Dave, 10 years ago, and give him a picture of me today, I'd be like, that's fucking Photoshop. There's no way. Like, I would never be able to think I could put on muscle like that. Right. And so, it's one of those things where, you hit a certain point in your life and threshold where, you don't know what that person's going through. Right. Or health ailments or other things. So, it's just annoying that you have people out there commenting on stupid stuff. They literally have no idea what they're talking about. So don't you worry about me, man. Worry about yourself.
It's tough because it can be frustrating, and your automatic reaction is like, even my automatic reaction, and people comment to you, I'm like, this motherfucker, is that right? Like, just to comment back, and I'm like, it's exactly like you said. It's like, you don't know the struggles that person's having and how that makes them feel, or whether it's some negative feeling that they're having about somebody who has potentially been in this position that they were before and actually made a difference and made a change. I think they look great. Well, but I mean, maybe I'm
thanks, buddy. Listen, but here's the thing. His goals, obviously he's very sedentary. He's overweight. Again, I shouldn't have said it. We're talking about people. I'm just specifically talking about this instance. His goals are probably different than mine, right? And that's totally fine. Like, if you want to be, if you're happy with where you're at, fantastic. All about you, all about, what you want to accomplish out of life. But like, somebody's priorities may be different, and somebody's priorities may shift differently. And, to support people that are doing healthy things, like, again, my blood work's impeccable. I'm running the fastest I ever have in my life. I'm lifting the heaviest I have in my life. Science tells us longevity equates to VO2 max and cardiovascular work and grip strength and muscle. For all indications, I'm probably going to live a lot longer than that individual living an unhealthy lifestyle. Okay. So, again, whether you want to be more cardiovascular in shape, or whether you want to be more on the muscle, or whether you want to be a hybrid of both, or skew one way to the other, that's up to you to decide, and for you to build your training programs on the physique that you want to. And that can change over time too. But, don't judge people for where they're at in this specific time and place. It just doesn't make any sense.
Just don't fucking pass comment on people how they look in a negative way. Like, I just don't see why people think it's okay. It's pissed me off for the longest time, because it's the opposite almost, but it's like, I've struggled, obviously. Well, I had struggled for a long time to put weight on, and for the people to say, "Oh, you look skinny," I'm like,
well, I had Tish Harper. Tish Harper, who's an amazing person, by the way, super kind individual, up and comer in the security industry. I got to meet her out in Vegas, and I was telling Aaron, I'm like, hey, I'm meeting somebody at this place, that I've been talking to, online, super nice person, super energetic, really, like the whole women in security thing. More women in this industry is an amazing thing. And so I met Tish the first time, and the first thing she says to me is, "Man, you're a lot smaller in person than I thought." And I was like, "Son of a bitch." I'm like, "Man, I should have done some push-ups before I got here." But what people don't realize though is, like when I'm taking a picture of my quads, for example, it's after, I've just destroyed my quads, and you get what's called the pump, which makes you look incredibly large. I don't look like that all the time. I wish I looked like that all the time. That would be effing amazing. But it has a shelf life on it to where, maybe like an hour later, I look like tiny quads again. Now, don't get me wrong, I have a lot of muscle there, but it doesn't look as exploded and veiny and everything else that goes along with that.
Every conference that Dave's at from now on, he'll be here every 45 minutes.
Doing squats and doing some push-ups really quick and the pump on so I look big. But it's funny to get people's perspectives of things. And I had someone else tell me I was at Wild West Hacking Fest. Deb, she was like, "Yeah, you look actually like a physically fit and normal in person." I was getting concerned about how big you were getting before, but it's like, you don't look that big anymore. I'm like, oh, I can take offense to that. Like I feel like I need to represent. But anyways, Deb's such a good person too. But it's good to see. Jason said the same thing, but it's what people don't understand is like, yes, I mean, when you see a picture of a bodybuilder, first of all, most of those bodybuilders are like 5'2", 5'3". They're super tiny. So the weight distribution of where they got to go is much easier to spread that muscle around a distribution point that is much lower in surface area. But second, like they got a pump on going too, and they get perfect tanning and everything else that goes along with that. Believe me, we don't look like that all the time in any way, shape, or form. Like when you see a picture of me with my shirt off with abs, I'm like, yeah, that's me with perfect lighting. I'm angling myself to the left, so you can see the definition of the abs. I just got done working out, so my body's exploding with muscle. And then I take a picture and then I crop out, like maybe I have a piece of acne or, something like that. So it doesn't look like, it's one of those things where it's like, hey, if you meet me in person, I'm not going to be as big as you think, and you're not going to get the exact perfect lighting from me at all times. I'm sorry to say. So yeah,
not yet. Someday we'll be that big all the time.
Yeah.
But yeah, we derailed the conversation about Andy Golfing.
No, I just, I think it's important to understand that, our bodies are, so adaptable to our surroundings, as you can see, right? Like if we have all the food in the world, what happens? Well, we store that food for later when we don't have all the food in the world. What happens if we still have all the food in the world? Well, we get larger and larger and larger and larger. And that's when we start getting into cardiovascular issues, cancer, things of that effect. So we're a product of our surroundings. Okay. And so if you live in a city, by the way, it's always good to see like people in a city versus people in suburbs. People in the city are typically percentage wise more lean, because they walk around everywhere, right? They're moving around. They have to walk. They don't own cars, especially if you live directly in the city. So, you're continuously getting yourself out. You're moving. So your total daily energy expenditure is increased on a per day basis because you're more active throughout the day just by getting steps and things like that. And so, like we're a product of our surroundings and what we do. So if we want to change that, and if you're struggling with gaining weight, for example, you need to eat more. You need to be a product of your surroundings, get more calories into your body to sustain it to get to where you need to go. Same thing if you want to lose weight, you either need to increase your total daily energy expenditure, or you need to eat less and do other things that promote your body to forge more so active with what you're doing. And again, it starts off with small steps and things like that. But I just find it so fascinating that our bodies are really changeable to our surroundings in every way, shape, or form. I mean, it's miraculous what we can do with our bodies. I mean, if you think about it, our bodies heal themselves. Like literally, I know we always look at like Wolverine. Wolverine gets like a bullet shot through him, and then his body actually closed that wound instantaneously. I mean, we do the same thing. It just takes a little bit longer. But think about that. We're repairing our cycles in DNA, and fixing wounds so that, our body can still sustain itself. It's the same thing we're doing where we're putting ourselves under pressure. And people are always, wondering like, why do we have to do resistance training? Why do we have to do, cardiovascular work? And the thing is, if you don't use those specific things in your body, they break down and they aren't used. So they basically, atrophy, which means that your body starts to break down in different ways because you're not using it for what it's designed to be able to do. So if we're not going out there and running, well, we're not going to be good at running. If we don't lift weights, we're not going to build muscle. Now, if we don't have muscle, we're going to probably die sooner because our grip strength is going to be low. We're going to fall down and break our hips. So there's a lot of things that support why these things actually work. And, you know, again, we're a product of our surrounding, but anybody here, and I don't want to say anybody, I don't want to use a blanket statement, but, you know, almost everybody in the world can morph their body to what they want to accomplish. Now, does that mean you're going to be, you know, a Instagram model? No, I'll never be that, because I still have skin from when I was, you know, overweight. And so it droops down a bit.
What you need to do is change your bio to Instagram model. And
that's right. That's right.
It. That's all you got to do.
Yeah. And apply a filter at all times that removes my extra skin on the sides. But, you know, like, I'm never going to be that. But at the same time, like, I feel freaking good. Like, I'll tell you the other day, my buddy Dave had a birthday. And I've started to really wear tighter fitting clothes, which, you know, for folks that have been overweight, like, to do that is a huge accomplishment, because we are always concerned about how big we look. So we always get bigger, baggier clothes, and even finding clothes that fit you. Okay. So I would always wear as loose fitting clothes as humanly possible, because I didn't want to show my fat. I didn't want to show how big I was. And on top of it, I wanted to be comfortable. Okay. So I always had baggy stuff all the time. Like, if I could have fitted an XL, I would have wore 2 or 3XL. Well, I didn't fit an XL, so I would always wear a 2XL or a 3XL. And I'd usually wear a 3XL so that I could, you know, hide how bad, you know, I was looking, which didn't hide anything whatsoever, by the way. It was more comfortable in it. But this weekend, I had gotten some new clothes from Noble, which I'm obviously wearing a shirt right now from it. But they had this new line called Merino Wool, and it's a real thin cloth, but it hugs your body, so it hugs your muscles. It's tapered on the stomach area, and it's a real tight fitting thing. And I wore that, and I felt freaking great. I felt amazing. You know, you could see my muscle profile. You could see my chest definition. You can see I didn't have a gut on there. It was one of the first times I actually felt like comfortable and proud in a crowd to have that type of clothing. And also, you know, like, I normally don't dress nice because it's always like gym shorts and whatever. I dressed nice. I had some nice things on. I had a good date night with my wife. It was one of those things where I just felt absolutely confident about myself. But again, I morphed my body to get there. Is, you know, I'm still not done yet, but it's one of those things that you can transform your body to anything you want to. It's just absolutely incredible.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest piece for me. Like, you can take control of it. And yes, okay, you may need to be realistic with your expectations in it, but it doesn't mean that you cannot make a change. And I think the biggest thing for me is, and I saw this on I don't know, it was a Facebook reel or an Instagram reel or a TikTok or some sort of like death scroll social media time, but they said that the gym is the most honest place that you can go, because what you put in, you will get out. It's the only place that it's almost like a 1-to-1. Exactly what you put in, you will get out. So the work that you put in, you will get out. And I often say this with clients whenever they're bitching at me about progress. I'm like, don't be pissed off with the results you didn't get from the work you didn't do. So if you are skipping out on things, or you're not never necessarily giving 100% on things, don't be pissed off for not getting the results. And the people who are getting the results that you're like, why am I not getting that? Is there, because they're the ones put the fucking work in. And I have to shout out Anthony at this point for sure. Number one, for sharing his before and after on Instagram and on Twitter and within the Discord.
He's been great to see his progress.
Yeah,
because by the way, he's got a physique. That guy can be a freaking monster. I mean, he is a monster already. But I mean, he has everything to be a freaking monster, like in the gym, and just massive, big dude. I love it. I love it. I've seen his progress. It's great. Yeah.
But even that, like, number one, shout out for sharing it, because I know that, and you'll be able to vouch for this, like the first time that you share this, I actually find the first time that I shared my progress pictures, which is, I guess it was 9 years ago, and like the don't usually do this kind of thing message. And I was like, can't stop doing this kind of thing. But it's even having the balls to be able to share, or having the confidence, I guess, to be able to share that. But obviously, you know, his incredible. His transformation has been incredible. And I think that I sort of try to touch on it on Instagram stories, but it's difficult because I don't ever share myself client before and afters. I'll always reshare if one of you guys post it, but I don't think that the two photos ever give the context. And the point that I'm getting at is, it's exactly what you're talking about. It's the confidence, it's the change in identity, it's a change in behaviors, it's, you know, literally becoming a new person. And it all starts with just taking control of one thing. And I think the thing for me is, you know, now that we're like slightly further into the process with a lot more people are starting to really get into that flow where it is like, you know, before it was like, I'm doing this thing to get this way. And now it's like, no, this is my identity. And it's even like beyond that, can't remember the guy, somebody on Twitter the other day tagged you in a post about they couldn't let you be the only jacked cyber dude. And I was like, it's so cool to see.
Love it.
so much
Dude, I love it.
happening within the industry. Like it is,
it's amazing.
Yeah, it's so cool
to see it. And I get people all the time seeing it. You know, it's like nonstop. More people that don't even say anything all the time. Just like, hey, the past 6 months, I've been following everything you guys have been doing. Yeah. You know, I dropped 50 pounds. I'm like, oh my God, you dropped 50 pounds and you haven't said anything? Like, why? You know, like, it's awesome. You know, but it's so cool. Yeah. Tell us. Jeez, oh, Pete.
Yeah. But anyway, shout out to Anthony before and after. And the thing that I said, like, you know, I obviously see it on a much deeper level because I have conversations with these people on a regular basis. I see their check-ins. I see the struggles. I see where they started, and I see the difference sort of whenever it goes through, you know, week on week. So it's so cool to see that. And I think one of the other cool things that I'm starting to notice is obviously with conferences and sort of like the industry as a community getting together on a semi-regular basis. It's cool to sort of see the reactions when people come back from that and be like, oh, this person hadn't seen me in here and this person hadn't seen me in this time and they said this and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, it's so cool to sort of, not that we do it for external validation, but it's sort of good to sort of reaffirm it because I do think, and I get this myself, sometimes I look at myself and still see a skinny version of myself. So it's good to sort of know that everything that you're doing and the work that you're putting in, the boxes you're ticking and the consistency and the discipline and everything that comes along with it, that it works and that you have made a difference. And I think it's cool to see people starting to share that more and more.
Well, you know, think about this too. I mean, I have been wrecking my body for 2.5 years straight, like not missing, going to extremes, doing all those. And I'm just getting to a point now where I feel, I mean, don't get me wrong, I felt great about my progress and I'm great that I made progress, but I'm just getting to a point now where I feel really good about the spot that I'm in. Right. And that I have confidence in myself. I have confidence in my food, what I eat, when I eat, how I eat, knowing my body, how it operates. It's taken me 2.5 years of busting my ass. Now I want to throw something out there before we close up, which is, you know, I saw this, there's a lot of, you know, Instagram models and things like that, and there's a lot of fitness, you know, people that talk about stuff. But one of the ones I saw recently, I think I sent to you, was you talked about, you know, not having enough time.
Which one? You sent me like
which one? I sent you like most of them are hilarious though. Come on. Some of those are just amazing. You know, did you see that one dude with screaming like how a real spotter should be at the gym? And it's this dude just going like, ah, you know, so good. Anyways, one of the ones that I saw that I thought was a great way of putting things into perspective. And it's something that we've talked about a lot before in the past, which is, you know, small changes equate to massive long-term changes in ourselves. Right. So, you know, just by going out and getting steps and moving your body, you're instantly decreasing you're increasing your longevity just by going out there and getting steps substantially. It's like 4x or 3x more longevity just by going on getting the magic number is 8,000 steps a day. But people say 10,000, whatever, 12,000, 50,000, 100,000, 200,000, whatever it is. But 8,000 is what's been studied, you know, just by going out and getting steps, right? So think of that. You're going to live longer just by going in steps. And you're also going to burn calories, which if you eat the same amount of food, now you're going to start losing weight because of that, because now you're putting your body in a much higher total daily energy expenditure. But the thing I thought was really cool with him, one of the guys, I'll have to find his name on there, but it was something to the fact of like, you know, I only have, you know, 2 days to go to the gym a week. Okay. And what it was putting in perspective of, listen, in order to maximize, like optimize your body to get the most amount of muscle mass possible, you need to do anywhere between 10 to 20 sets of a specific workout per muscle group. Okay. That might seem like a lot, right? That's going to the gym probably multiple times throughout the week to get to that specific area. So if you're doing full body workouts, you know, you're probably hitting four a day or so on that one. So you'd have to go to the gym probably, you know, 3 times a week just to get the maximum amount of muscle hypertrophy and strength gains. Okay. What you put in perspective though is, well, what if you only go twice and you only get 6 to 8 reps? Well, you're actually increasing your muscle strength and hypertrophy by 84%. So, you know, it's like, oh shit. So I'm increasing 84% more than I ever have before in my life. Okay. So I'm not 100% maximizing it, but I'm 84%, and you're going to still continue to gain muscle and grow just a little bit slower, 15% slower. Oh my God, just by going twice a week. So, you know, you have to take these things into strides and say, listen, if I make some small changes and I can go to the gym twice a week or once a week and just get 10 reps out, or do a full body exercise and get, you know, 10 sets out, that's a great thing to go and do, man. And you can go and do it, make a big difference and impact in your body. And then eventually, you know, if you decide you want to do more because you're more comfortable with it, or, you know, you want to gain faster, go for it. If not, cool. like we have so many different options available, but just getting out there and doing it is the most important piece.
Yeah, I think that I often think it's difficult for people to hear the way that we speak about this if they have never or are not in that situation. And whenever I did the client hot seat with Luke, we talked about this quite a lot. And he was like, if you were able to bottle this feeling and give it out, like this, the feeling of whenever you're in control of everything and you feel good and the confidence and everything that you're saying, like everything that comes along with managing your training nutrition, that feel good factor, it's so difficult to explain that to someone, and it's so far away from what they feel and what they believe. Like it's difficult to actually get that. And I think that if you sort of, or if this is the first time listening, or you're started on your fitness journey in January and we're halfway through February, whatever, commit to at least 6 months, and just no matter what, commit to the 6 months, and you will be a different person at the end of that 6 months. And then it will just snowball from that point. And I've tried to explain it so many times, and it's not something you can explain without being in it, but just being able to take control. And for me, it is a control thing. And you saying that it's taking you 2.5 years to be fully comfortable. I think I said this to you, I'm going to say probably about 6 or 8 weeks out from whenever I did that last shoot. That was the first time that I hadn't been like, oh, I'm getting too skinny, I want to be bigger. Like I felt like I was in control. And I even feel now like I won't have to do this fucking mini clip for 3 weeks, but I feel now that I am happy with where I'm at, that okay, if I do need to lose a bit of body fat, this is what I need to do, or I do want to gain muscle, this is what I need to do. Like I have a better baseline, a better set point essentially, and I'm not too far away with either side of what I'm happy with. So it does take time. And I'll leave with the Alex Hermousier quote where he says people are thinking in days and weeks or months, whenever it really takes decades to actually make change. So start thinking in decades. I think I paraphrased that a lot, but it definitely makes sense.
Absolutely. Well, listen, that podcast went by faster than I could ever possibly imagine. We had so much to catch up on.
It's okay. We're going to do another one in 2 days.
We're doing it again Wednesday. Yeah, that's right. Cool. Sweet. Maybe some new stories coming in here. But no, we really appreciate everybody listening to us. And, it's always great to hear folks that, we meet and their stories, success stories. Share those at We Hack Health on social media, Instagram, everything else. Check out our Discord server. Please, share your experiences, be part of the community, be part of positivity, in helping this industry get better, as well as, if you're not in this industry too, this, again, we're here for everybody to help everybody and hopefully share our knowledge. Never not definitely kick you out. So thanks again, everybody, for an awesome week of a podcast. We'll talk to you again shortly.
Bye.